Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals or Bleav in Cardinals. It is the Arizona Cardinals centric specific show, of course, about the Arizona Cardinals here in the Phoenix metropolitan area. I am one of your co hosts. I am Javon J. Love Adams, and with me is a man who played not only professional baseball, but he also played in the National Football League. He is none other than, and of course, he was on that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm talking about none other than the one, the only Ed Easy Smith. What is good, my brother?
1 week in the books, brother. 16 more to go. So, so we got a lot to talk about here, man, with these Cardinals.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So a few things coming up. Definitely want to some things to run. But before we get into all that, football is back, and BetOnline is your number one information source for all your sports wagering info with all the up to the minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. Get the latest game odds, spreads, and totals from the NFL, college football at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates on statistics, news, and odds. From week 1 all the way to the college football playoff and Super Bowl, BetOnline gives you access to the best football promotions and contests available anywhere online. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. So Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. We have a matchup. Of course, we do this thing twice a week. Mondays is where we reflect upon the most recent game, and then Thursdays when we look ahead to the upcoming opponent. And that upcoming opponent this week, coming to State Farm Stadium here in Glendale, Arizona, it is going to be none other than the New York Football Giants, as they say. I'll actually be in attendance on that game, so I'll be able to give a real accounting of how it was and how much blue and all that stuff was in the building. But so a few things I want to go over. Of course, we want to look at kind of how both of these teams performed most recently in their first week of the NFL, and then a few things that the odds not changing in terms of the Cardinals in terms of where people perceive them projected. How short is the leash for Joshua Dobbs, and do the Arizona Cardinals have a home field advantage anymore? And then, of course, we want to figure out who needs to star if the Cardinals are going to win, and then we'll get down to the choice of the game. But so we got a tale of two games. They're both losses. The Arizona Cardinals, they fell short 20-16 to the Washington Commanders. We talked about it on Monday. There were it was a little bit conservative in some ways, but Joshua Dobbs this week in terms of listening locally is catching hell really for his less than for not being so I guess game changing. But I don't know if I think it's a combination of him, but also maybe a combination of play calling. The New York Giants, they came off a 40-0 beat down on primetime game, and so they're coming in kind of licking their wounds. The New York Giants are actually favored by 5.5 right now going into that game as I look at it here now. When we look at these, I mean, the you would think that the Giants would have to bounce back or have a better showing, wouldn't you, Easy?
You would sure hope so, brother. After getting beat 40-0, you know how hard that is to do in the NFL, and you know that's a beat down of all type of beat downs right there. So I'm assuming there was, you and I talked about this earlier, in the week. And this is for the Giants. You got to burn that tape. You can't even watch that. That's disgusting. And the perfect once again, the perfect opponent coming up would be the lame duck Giant or Cardinals. If you think about it, we're with our quarterback situation. We don't pose much of a threat in terms of stopping the running game. They should have a field day in our secondary. All the advantages seem to roll toward the Giants, but as we saw last week, this is why you play the games, because all on paper we thought Washington was going to roll us over on the road last week, and we actually played a halfway decent game. So the goal, I wonder what the goal, like, every year when the good teams I played on, we always set goals. And,
Yeah.
we had like quarterly goals, yearly goals. And we also said weekly goals too in terms of how we wanted to perform. And it's almost with this roster and rookie coaches all over the place. You want, if they did set any goals, you wonder what they are. Like, hey, let's go out there and keep it close this week. Or, let's win. We're going to win. I don't know. This just doesn't.
Keep it
We'll
close.
see.
Wait a minute.
I'm serious.
You guys, come around me. Yeah, what's up, coach? Let's keep it close this week, y'all. Go out there and win.
Seriously.
I mean, go out there and be competitive. Good Lord.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the Giants, we'll see what they come in here and do. But I was surprised 5.5, because I think it started out at 4. The game started out at 4 and then went up to 5.5 for the Giants. So question the point spread. But maybe as bad as Giants played last week, you gotta, I guess, ding them a little bit. So interesting matchup. We'll see how it rolls out for us.
Yeah, and also along those lines, if you looking at the who did and did not practice yesterday, I'll pull that up so I know I didn't send that to you in the show prep. But so if we look at some limited participation, so in terms of for the Cardinals that didn't practice yesterday, as we get ready for this game, Josh Woods didn't participate with an ankle. LJ Collier with his biceps, the defensive lineman, he did not practice. Limited participation for offensive lineman Kelvin Beachum because of his hand, James Conner because of his calf, and Lecky Fotu because of his shoulder. So those are kind of interesting there. But if you look at the Giants, they have a long list of players with limited participation. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 limited participants, and then 2 that did not participate. One, their offensive lineman Andrew Thomas with his hamstring, but also tight end Darren Waller with his hamstring. But they also mentioned rest. So if we're looking at that, if somebody, say, for example, like a Waller doesn't participate, that bodes well for the Cardinals. I mean, since we don't know, the Cardinals acquitted themselves well last week, but we just don't know if that means that the defense will still continue to be kind of that shining light, so to speak, and really not get any of those silly penalties that they racked up. 9 penalties, 122 yards. That was both offense and defense, but mostly from the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, you remember what we talked about last week, though, Jay. The first month of the season is really our preseason. Yeah. Show me what you're going to do. You can speculate, and obviously because how everybody's running these off seasons and preseasons nowadays, nobody's playing. We got a quarterback will be his 3rd week in the building, so it's one of those situations we don't even know really what to expect. I question why they're bashing Joshua Dobbs so much out here, because it's like, wait a minute, you realize the dude just got here, and it's not like he is touted as a franchise quarterback, and then you think about what he's working with out there on the field and up in the box. I mean, he's got rookie offensive coordinator who's barely been doing the job, a head coach, first year experience, so all these things stacked against him, and we're he's dogs, blah blah. It's like, wow, to get the dude a break, and as I started saying, this is the time where we'll figure out what this team is going to look like, and okay. I mean, after these first 4 weeks or so, because and I'm saying that across the league too. Everybody's look what happened in Cincinnati last week. Look what happened in Pittsburgh. Everybody's shaking their heads, but it's these teams are it's going to take them a while to get up and running and ramped like regular season, because like I said, they're not preparing in the preseason games like they used to. So, we'll see what these Cardinals look like over the next few weeks. They could hang into this one. They could even win this one, especially after the way the Giants played. But I don't think we're going to know the identity of his team for at least a month.
So let's get into the Joshua Dobbs. And so Bleav in Cardinals. So let's get into Joshua Dobbs a little bit. If we look at, the way in which he played from week 1. So what is it? His completions, he was 21 of 30. He was yards per pass was 3.5 yards per pass. So he definitely wasn't kind of looking down the field, so to speak, to be able to move the ball down the field. You know, I just wonder if when you were alluding to let's go out and have a good showing and let's compete or keep it close, that if maybe the weather didn't come into factor into play a little bit when it started to rain, and maybe the offensive coordinator decides, yeah, we really gonna pull it back and try to be as conservative as possible, and make sure that we're saying to Joshua Dobbs, let's keep it, let's not make any mistakes, let's not do anything silly, so as we to not give ourselves an opportunity to get a field goal, things like that. Are those things that are possible, and being in a controlled environment here at State Farm Stadium, if that will allow, in theory, to be able to push the ball a little bit down the field, because he was really keeping everything very short and medium yardage.
Well, that first game for everybody, and I'm pretty sure they pounded into his head about, hey, we're gonna need you. These are the things we need you to do. These are the things we need you not to do. And I guarantee they kept telling him, you cannot turn the ball over. If it's not there, just drop it. Drop it off. Get your little outlets. Different things like that. And after you get there, imagine this, Jay. You've been with the Cleveland Browns all preseason.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, next hey, we're making a move, and you're coming here to Arizona. And by the way, you're gonna be our starter. You got about a week and a half to get ready for it. And
Yeah.
so for him, this is a lot. He started last year in Tennessee, a couple games, and even that was probably, he was over his skis a little bit. But hey, you're gonna be our starter. Now, this is what we need you to do. We need you to protect the ball. We need you to. So that was along with their game plan, and along with pounding that into his head. He was probably scared to death to throw the ball into trouble down the field. So what did he do? Everything was underneath. I mean, so
yeah, he was a lot of passes where the side passes, whatever the correct term is for him. And I hate those, but there was a lot of that. We had that in the previous regime too.
Yeah.
But it seemed like there was a lot of that. Just let's see if we can get a couple yards. In that case, I always hear this: stay ahead of the sticks. Is that something that is planted in your brain as a player, but also as a quarterback as well? Let's make sure we're staying ahead of the sticks to not be in a third and long situation.
It is, but the problem with that is the penalties. Every time you
Right.
turn around, if you're taking 5 back, 10 back for holding, whatever the penalties are, you're playing behind the sticks. And that comes with discipline. That comes with a whole lot of, young guys being in positions. And so that's something that's going to have to be corrected, because but the penalties are killers. The drive killers from the start, like, first and 10, you go to first and 15, or you make a big play down the field, pick up first down. Oh no, flag on the field, you're coming back. So those are the type of things that are going to always, and I think we talked about last week, for the Cardinals here's the thing, for them to be in games and win games, they have to be at their utmost best. I mean, they almost have to play perfect football for me. That tells you a little bit about the Washington Commanders, because we played one of the most conservative and penalty-filled games, and we're still ahead in that game late in it. And they had to come back and score 10 to win in the fourth. So what does that tell you about the Commanders, let alone us? So as we progress and we start playing teams that are a little better, their stuff's a little tightened up, they're getting their rhythm, because we're moving further into the season. We go out there and we commit 9 penalties. I will say the one thing about Joshua Dobbs was, you can pat him on the back and say that he didn't throw any interceptions, but you got to throw the ball down the field most times to have an interception.
Right.
So you're throwing everything at the line of scrimmage. So we'll see if they open the game plan up, and then what the next, I guess, verse of things are. If he's throwing the ball down the field and in the traffic and he's getting picked off, then what do they do? I just hope here's the thing, Jay. I don't know what their goal is. I mentioned the word goal earlier, but why not? What do you have to lose in this situation? I don't think anybody expects this team to be in the playoff hunt, or playing for Super Bowl or anything like that. You got young players all over the place, man. We should be a team that every week just like with Detroit, it's like, wow, we don't know what they're going to do. Fake punts, trick
Yeah, gotcha.
plays,
Right,
different things like that. We should be a team that, hey, let's open the box and let's let it go. Let's have not necessarily just have some fun, but let's do this thing if we're going to do it. But if you're going out there and what was that old saying, Jay? If you imagine you go to the casino and you're scared to double down, right? Well, what's the point
right.
of being there? You got a little you good you wanted a little money or something, right? Say you got an
Yeah,
extra couple $100 in your pocket. You go to the casino. What's the point
yeah.
of walking away from the casino with $200 if you walked in with $200? Why don't you like let's let it go. It's some free money. I found some money. Let's let
That's
it
true.
go.
That's true. That's true. You walk in with that 200 saying, this is 200 that I'm going to spend. It's like going on the shopping spree,
Yeah.
right? And if
Why
I
am I
come
going?
out with 300 or 400 or 500, then cool. Then I found some money.
Yeah, and if I lost the 200, it's just I had some fun. But to walk out with that 200, where's the victory in that?
Right now, so Bleav in the Cardinals. So let's go into a little bit more of that analysis, though. So if we look at what the Cowboys did, and the Cowboys, because Dak is being, I noticed that Dak was being criticized for kind of his dink and dunk mentality because they've switched up the offense a little bit. So with the Cowboys against the Giants last week, that average yards per passer, average yards per pass was 5.7 yards, and conversely, the Giants were 1.7. Even though, so when you of course you look at the Cowboys defense was a little bit more stout than, let's say, the Cardinals defense is, right? But you should still be able, if you look at that as, even if it's an aberration to a certain extent because of the weather that was there in with the Cowboys Giants game, there still should be an opportunity. Let's see if we can try to pick apart this Giants defense a bit, because they might be, as they're still trying to find their way. So this might still be an opportunity to take advantage of them, because if they, to your example, if the first 4 weeks are going to be kind of like going to be kind of like a preseason, then that's the opportunity. Plus, there's a lot of pressure on them. So for the Giants, because they're already starting to feel it because of what they did last season. So they might make a misstep here or there, and so the Cardinals should be able to maybe take advantage of that opportunity.
Looking at that Cowboys Giants game, though, I would almost argue on the other side. You come in with a game plan if you're the Cowboys, and
Okay.
obviously we have our script. We want to. Next thing you know, before the blink of an eye, in the first quarter, you're up 16-0. You're up 26-0 at the half, and
Yeah.
it's bad weather. What's the point? I mean, let's just go ahead and get this victory and get out of here.
Good point.
Why do we have to go out and show out and start throwing the ball all down the field and doing? We're winning this game and we're doing it without even trying. They giving us the game. It's like, okay, so we got to prove something to y'all. We got to prove that we can throw the ball down the field. We walked out with a 40-0. This is what I don't understand sometimes. It's a team game, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
even in a 40-0 victory, we want to go and tear the quarterback down because of what he didn't do. He wasn't throwing the ball down the field. He was dinking and dunking because he didn't have to throw the ball down the field. We're up 40-0.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we just turn around and hand it off or do some safe passes and get out of here with our 40-0 victory? But like I said, we want to go and tear the quarterback down. Well, here, look at his numbers. He didn't do it. It's a team game. We want to focus on what Dak didn't do. Instead of, and on the flip side, they should have gotten Daniel Jones out of the game,
Yes, I think so too.
They left him in there, and it was like, for what? He was getting teed off on, sacked in the fourth quarter and raining, and it's like, for what? So that's the epitome right there of hustling backwards. When you're down 40-0, and you still trying to win the game in the fourth quarter. Hey, sometimes you got to lick your wounds and get out. And on the flip side, like I said, if you walk away with a 40-0 victory, we still want to criticize you.
So we talked about, so you just mentioned it's a team game, and I going back to Joshua Dobbs before we move on. Is his leash short? If he doesn't perform well this week, do you think we're going to see Clayton Tune? Because if that's the case, you should have played him to begin with, man. But anyway, do you think there's going to be a short leash with Joshua Dobbs? Meaning, if he doesn't, And I think it comes to play calling as well, because you're only going to do what the play calls for. So if keep everything in front of me, I'm not going to push it down the field, because I think he had one pass attempt for more than 20 yards last week, and that was an incomplete pass, but whatever. You got to push the ball a little bit more. But what do you think? Is there going to be a short leash? Are we going to, if he doesn't perform well?
As bad, or as everybody wants to jump on Joshua Dobbs, and
I don't think it's warranted. I think it's a little bit premature. Personally, if this is week 4 or 5, I could see it, but go ahead.
I'll say be careful what you wish for. At least Joshua Dobbs at least has a minimal. He's been in the league for a few years, minimal as far as his starts and stuff like that. If you really want to see bad, go ahead and put Tune in there, and you'll see how. There's a reason why they went out and got Joshua Dobbs when they weren't going to keep Colt McCoy, and put in 2 weeks and made the decision. Hey, you're only here for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We're still going to start you. There's a reason they did that.
Who's the most popular quarterback?
Always the backup. and in this situation, bro, a rookie quarterback, 5th round pick. And I'm not saying he can't come in and do it, because we see what's happening over in San Francisco. But I'm saying if you want to take that risk and remove Joshua Dobbs, just wait till you see what they throw at one Clayton Tune and how bad it could be. I mean, you talking about deer in the headlights. He struggled in the preseason.
And that could ruin somebody too.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not sure if they actually necessarily have future plans for him, but at the same time, they realize, he's over his skis right now. He could not handle this, so let's not do that to him. Even if at some point, he might be a valid backup, we can't toss him in there right now. These teams they would destroy him. So I don't think you have a short leash for Joshua Dobbs. Maybe you get halfway through the season, it's like, well, Clayton's been putting some work in practice. Let's give him a chance so he can at least get some experience. And but then let's say this, Jay, you get halfway through the season, are we going to be barking for one Kyler Murray to come back after week 4? Week 5, he's going to be eligible to come back. How close is he? Do we bring him back? So that if the real goal is to see what you got in Kyler when he's ready, then the clock should be ticking on whichever quarterback is playing. And why throw Tune in there if you're thinking we're going to have Kyler back by week 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. So
all right, so Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. What's interesting to me are it's so subjective, the power rankings. So on cardswire.com, they talked about in terms of power rankings, that the Cardinals are still last when in power rankings. Interesting, but I guess the way I want to talk about this is when it comes to power rankings, that there's a certain level of, again, the key word here, expectation. And we talked about this on our Easy Sports Talk podcast just on Wednesday about the panic button. The Giants, you think they're panicking at all? Or as you mentioned on Mondays, you like, this is one of those things you just got to flush it and just walk away from it in terms of the way in which they performed. How do you view that? Do you think that they're panicking in that building, especially given the city and the market that they play in?
No, I think this was a team that made the playoffs last year, so they know they can hang, and they know what their capabilities are. And I do think they have a very qualified head coach in the building, and Dable. And the last week's loss, that's one of those ones you just got to brush it off, man. And as far as I keep saying, this is your week. You're playing the perfect opponent, at least on paper, to make yourself feel better. So this is an opportunity. They come in here, they walk out with a impressive victory. They're back on track. Now, if you come in here and, God forbid, and I'm talking from the Giants standpoint, you come in here and lose this game, bruh, on the way back, on the airplane ride back to New York, that there will be some people that will be notified your service when we land. Your services will no longer be needed. Interesting story. I'll tell you an interesting story. When I was with the year that I was, we went to the Super Bowl in Atlanta. We started off 2-0 or whatever it was. We went out to San Fran and got our heads knocked in. And on the plane ride back, now we're 2-1, so we should feel at least halfway decent about ourselves. But
Yeah.
there was a couple players. One of them, he was a DB, and I can't remember his name. All jovial through the aisles of the plane, laughing, carrying on. He did not play a good game in San Fran. Oh, there we go. You there? Okay.
Yes. I'm
So
here.
we get on the plane ride back, and plane ride back. We land, right? We come in on Monday. He's no longer there. They call him in. I don't know, either when we landed or very early. He was notified that his services were no longer needed, and we were all like, "Where's?" I cannot remember his name. I have to look it up. He was gone. So this is one of those games. You come out here and you lay an egg. There could be some pink slips being written out up in the front of the plane. They might already be talking about who we got to get out of here, because that you lose this game, that's when you hit. And I'm not saying hit the panic button like it's code red, but this will be code orange or whatever, the fuchsia or whatever the next color is. So
Oh my goodness, that is crazy.
Handle your business.
Yeah, you gotta respect the loss or something, man. You can't be running up and down the aisles doing cartwheels and stuff, man. You better chill out.
Nah.
All right. All right. So before we get into our picks for this game, if the Cardinals are to win, who would have to be the star of the game, whether offense, defense, whatever it is? Because we know that the Cardinals, they 16 points last week, but one of them was a defensive touchdown, and the other 6 points were based upon special teams, so the kicking game. But so who would have to be the star this week? And I'm gonna say the star would have to be. I'm gonna go with running back. So I'm going to say James Conner. Here's why. So control the ball, maybe get a couple passes out of the backfield, receptions out of the backfield. But James Conner. So that means they're controlling the ball. They're keeping the defense off the field. They're being able to, I don't care if they have to get 7 field goals, whatever it might be, but just control the ball, possess the ball to be able to give, to get more experience for some of your inexperienced offensive linemen as well. But James Conner would have to be the star of the game if they're going to win this game. What say you, sir?
I like that. I'm going to go, and I was leaning that direction. Because you picked that, I'm going to go 1A, the offensive line. I'm going to go as a unit. The offensive line must establish and in that open up holes for James Conner so he can be successful. Protect Joshua Dobbs so he doesn't make mistakes. He had a fumble or two, because of pressure. And just like I said, take control of this game and start establishing something. So, you could pick either front, if you ask me. For on the defensive side, we've got to get after Daniel Dimes, and we got to stop their running game. But in this one, I like what you're thinking. Ball control as a unit, that offensive line they got to start establishing themselves. And like I said, protecting the quarterback and opening up some holes for the running back, and then we can look at being successful. If they're running through us, and we get to a point where, here's the thing, we were able to stay in that conservative game plan, Jay, because we were still in that game because of the fumble touchdown, Washington being inept and everything like that. What happens if Washington or the Giants come out here and next we're down 14-0 or 20-0? And you got to open it up, right? And that could lead to a whole lot of issues. So ball control and keeping away from mistakes will be crucial for us.
All right. So now let's get down to who we think is going to win this game. I say New York Giants. I don't think it's going to be a super high scoring affair. I say 17-14.
Okay. I have this one. I think we actually score a touchdown on this one offensively, and then another 3 field goals gives us 16.
Okay.
And we give up 24 to the Giants. 24-16 for me. It's at least respectable. Yeah. Here's a
All
question though,
right.
because you're going to the game. And so,
Yes.
what do you expect as far as how much? Because they can come in here and get our stadium. How much blue
Yeah.
is going to be in that stadium? It could be ugly.
I'm gonna be in there with my brother-in-law, and he's from New York, so he's a Giants fan anyway. So he's loud and bombastic, and then of course my wife and our youngest and our 17-year-old, and I lean towards the Cardinals, and so Elijah, my son, leans towards the Cardinals as well. And then my wife, she don't know who, she's just gonna be yelling and screaming. I mean, she leans a little bit more New York, but I think she'll be pulling for the Cardinals a bit too. So, but yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how that works.
I'll be in a stadium this week as well. I'll be over in Dallas watching Giants
That's
Dallas and the Jets. So
all right.
we'll both be in stadiums, just not the same one.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so now, yeah, so we got to figure out. I might be flying solo on Monday. We'll figure it out depending on what you got going on, because you making big moves. You over here doing big move things, but again, so we both have the Cardinals coming up short. So we do this on Mondays and Thursdays. So Monday will be the recap of this game here. Make sure you tell a friend about what we have going on here. Bleav in Cardinals or Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. You can also find us on the SiriusXM app and all these places. Wherever you find your podcast, just go ahead and search Bleav in Cardinals. And as always, we are presented by Bet Online. And as we always like to say around this time, you can.